With political and economic uncertainty happening all around us, layoffs are unfortunately becoming more and more common across the country. Not having a job or a source of income can be overwhelming, especially if you're 40 plus, because it starts to feel like you have a little less time to get it together and bounce back before you leave the workforce altogether. Not knowing what's coming next can definitely be scary, but being aware of some of the warning signs of an approaching layoff can help you get ahead of it. So in this video, I'm discussing some of the telltale signs that you may be facing a layoff soon. Recognizing these changes in your workplace early can give you time to prepare, to update your resume, and even begin looking for new work opportunities before time runs out. So first of all, let's talk about some of the differences between being laid off and being fired. Being laid off usually comes with some type of forewarning, like what we're going to talk about later in this video, whereas being fired can be really abrupt and sometimes you're blindsided. A layoff isn't personal and usually has to do with the company needing to preserve revenue or increase revenue, and that's the only reason why they're letting some people go. Being fired is personal and usually has to do with a personal issue or your performance. Like you were late 52 times last month, they caught you sleeping underneath your desk, and you ran over the boss's dog. Layoffs usually happen either company-wide or department-wide, whereas a firing is usually one person or maybe multiple people involved in a certain incident. And finally, layoffs come with severance package and a payout of your unused PTO and sick time, whereas being fired comes with nothing more than a boot in your ass.
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
As a disclaimer, I'm not putting these warning signs out there to put fear in anyone's heart or for this to be a gloom and doom video. I truly just want to make those who may have never experienced a layoff aware of the warning signs so that they can be prepared. Okay, let's carry on. Okay, so the first warning sign of an upcoming layoff is they start reassigning or reducing your responsibilities. So if you start to hear things like, let Kelly handle it or let Keith handle it, or when new projects come up that normally you would be involved in, you're no longer being asked to, be a part of, that could be a sign. In my last job, I noticed towards the end that there were a lot of new projects coming up and I was not involved in those projects. Even sometimes when I would volunteer to be a part of them, it was like, oh no, we have enough people to handle that. So if you notice that, and in the same vein, if they ask you to train somebody to do the responsibilities that you normally do, could be a sign that a layoff is coming for you. The next one is budget cuts. So if you start to notice little by little that different things are being pulled back or taken away, and things that normally funds would go towards, like maybe you do group outings once a month, or usually have a stipend to have snacks in the break room, or they give you, free lunch on Wednesday, and those things start getting cut back or reduced, that could be a sign that a layoff is coming. The next one is bringing in new management, and I've seen this many a times. So when a company brings in new management, a lot of times it's because things aren't going the way that they expected them to or the way that they want them to go for productivity, for efficiency, for growth. And they bring in new management or new experts to kind of help save things. So when new managers come in, like one job I had, new management came in and they brought other people in with them, and those people gained leadership positions, whereas some of us who had been there for years that were waiting in line and were doing everything that we could to have those leadership positions, we weren't up for those roles because they brought in new management. And not only with bringing in new management, a lot of different changes happen, And then eventually we started to see, layoffs begin to happen. So if new management comes in, that could be a sign. Not absolutely a sign, but it could be a sign. The next sign that I've noticed is if your company begins to implement a lot of new changes or new initiatives or ideas all at one time. So, for example, if they start to introduce a lot of new products or a lot of new services, if you're in that type of industry, all at one time. And it's like the products and services that you all are already offering have not been perfected, are not performing the best, then it's kind of their way of saying, hey, let's just, throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. They're trying any and everything that they can to save the company, to bring in more revenue. This happened with the very last job that I was with. And a job that I had several years ago, they began to offer add-ons to the services that we were already offering, and then they began to change the pay structure. The pay structure. So some of us were employees and some of us were independent contractors, and they left the employees as is, but for the independent contractors, they changed the pay structure so bad so that it wasn't even worth working. If I'm being honest, it wasn't even worth working and doing the job at one point, because you really had to work your ass off in order to be able to get, whatever the rate was that they were offering. So if you notice those types of changes where they start to make a lot of changes all at once, it's kind of just like grabbing and being like, where can we cut money, where can we bring in more money, how can we, preserve what we have going on just to keep the company afloat. That could be a sign. If management or leadership be, like go into more meetings than usual. So in my last role, I was a part of the leadership team. I was a coordinator, and I noticed that we were going into more and more meetings and kind of just like discussing strategies and ways to kind of just like tighten everything up. So those are kind of like writings on the walls that I saw. And then it was a remote job that I had. So the company itself was on the West Coast and I'm on the East Coast. So my hours were late. I worked from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Excuse me. And I noticed one night when I was on, um, we use Slack as a communicator, by the way. One night when I was on, I noticed that the owner of the company and the new VP that they had brought in just a few months ago, another sign we spoke about earlier, that they were on a meeting after they had logged off for the day hours and hours ago. And I saw those green lights on, and I was like, they are not normally here at this time. So what is going on? And then we had shared calendars where you could see, you might not be able to see the exact meeting, like the name of the meeting that somebody was in, but you could see if they were in a meeting. And sure enough, I looked at the calendar and there was a meeting scheduled for late. And I was like, "Ooh, it's happening."
Oh no, no, where are you going? No, be careful. What are you doing? It's happening. It's happening. It's happening. It happened. It happened.
So the next one I experienced a couple of times with this last role and with a role previous is if your direct manager or someone in upper management, like above you, is laid off. So with this last role, when I came into the company, I want to say 2, maybe 3 months after I started on with the company, the person who hired me, so she was kind of the head manager over the company, over all of the teams. She got fired. But then when the layoffs actually began, on the day that I was laid off, my manager was also laid off the same day. So her start time was a little bit earlier than mine. I think it was like an hour or two. So she got laid off um, when she started, and then when I started, I got laid off. Um, as well. So yeah, if they start letting go of management, because I think what happens is if the company is just, bleeding money and they're trying to save money, they're going to let go of the person who is paid the most, so long as whatever their responsibilities are can be doled out to different people on different teams. So long as their responsibilities are able to be handled by someone else, which goes back to, training other people to do things that you normally do, then they'll go ahead and let those people go because that's going to save the most money. They're not having to pay that higher salary out. And then they'll keep people who, don't make as much money and let them do a bigger workload for the same pay. So yeah, if you start to see that, well, not if you start to see that happen, if your manager is laid off, then it's a possibility that the layoffs are going to start to trickle down, and it might happen to you in your department soon. And then the last one, and probably the most obvious, is if as soon as you get into work or as soon as you sign into work that day, they call you into a meeting that you did not have scheduled, there's a likelihood that they're going to let you know that that day will be your last day. Or in some cases, it might be like the next, you have until the end of the week, and then your role has been terminated, or you're no longer going to be with the company. Because I have had it be where the layoff happens immediately, and they just go through and give you the exit paperwork, send you what your severance is going to be, or discuss that with you during the call or during the meeting. And then in other cases, it's like, okay, you're going to be laid off, but it's going to happen. Like they might tell you on a Tuesday, and then you have until Friday or until the following Friday. And in those cases, I mean, it could be them just being nice, but sometimes I think it's just that they want the payroll to be clean. So they'll do it on the day, like they'll either do it like on the last day of the pay period. You get paid the following week or whatever for the 2 weeks that you worked, or maybe if you get paid every week, however it goes. I've even had a job where I was paid once a month. So they want to make payroll clean. So if they do it on the last day of the pay period, um, then that makes sense. Or they might, just need to go ahead and let you know the information, because maybe there are whispers happening, or people are starting to figure out what's going on, and they're just like, okay, we're just going to let her know what's happening. And but then you still have, a few days, or a week or so to work out the pay period, and then that would be your last day. So the moral of the story is this: I truly hope that if you're watching this, you do not face a layoff, that you do not have to go through that anytime soon. However, I hope that hearing some of these writings on the wall will help you just to like pay attention to what's going on around your workplace. And if you start to see some of these things happening, you can be like, okay, let me go ahead and tighten up my resume, or let me go ahead and start putting feelers out there and hitting up some people in my network to see, what may be available. So like I said, you can get ahead of, the possibility that layoffs are coming for your department or for your company as a whole. If there are any signs that I missed, or anything that you have experienced ahead of a layoff, please feel free to share that in the comment section, because like this video is to help, and hopefully if I miss something and there's something that you know of, that would help somebody else reading it in the comment section to just be a little bit more aware and prepared. Also, if you're interested in hearing ideas about things you can do more or less financially to prepare yourself for a possible layoff coming, this year or in the coming years, check out the last video that I did about the things that I wish I would have done differently ahead of this layoff. And I just realized that I did not introduce myself at the beginning of the video. So hopefully you stayed until the end. This was a short one. My name is Joss. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it or found anything helpful in this video, please feel free to hit the like button. And until next time, bye.